You're watching your local television network, TSPN, and now back to Today's Seniors Living Well with your host, Laurie Webb.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the final show of Today's Seniors Living Well. Make 2013 your lucky year. And we have covered a lot of territory in this last 6 weeks. Today is our final show. Virginia and I are anticipating doing a fall show, so if you have any ideas of topics that you'd like to see in the fall, or if you'd like to be a sponsor for the show, Virginia or I or Sue Slivick here at the station would love to hear from you, because we really love doing the show and we have a lot of fun with it, and we feel like it gives a lot of important information to the community. And we really wouldn't have even been able to get started without the help of my final guest. You're my final guest, Brian.
Well, thank you, Laurie.
Thank you for being
good to be here
today.
Well, likewise.
Yeah. So we know that you are a strong supporter of senior citizens in Amador County. You sit on the Common Ground
Yes.
Board of Directors, and you've done some pretty nice things for Common Ground. You had some kind of arrangement with Campbell's Soup that you set up, and
Yes.
you've
It was like basically they had like excess stock, or they donated food, and it was a pretty good deal. But I think Campbell's Soup went to greener pastures, I'm afraid.
well,
But I thank them for their help.
for their initial help, yeah. And there's continuing to be a lot of community support for Common Ground. And you also are our representative to the Commission on Aging, and you've attended a lot of the meetings.
Not all of them, I missed some. But
Yeah,
I try to make them.
You've been there we had one supervisor, Rich Escamilla, I think he held the attendance record for a while, but you've been very faithful. What's been your experience of being on the commission and talking with the folks? I know you stay after lunch and sit down and chat with people too. You like old people, don't you?
Yes, I do like old people, and also for people that want to attend, they have a very good lunch at the senior center. It was good before, and it's gotten even better. I mean, and the salad bar is, it's a very nice salad bar. No, yeah, I've always liked seniors, and I like going there and just talking to people. And sometimes people have an issue they want to talk to you about. A lot of time, normally they want to talk about whatever, nothing in particular.
Well, your family's been here in Amador County forever, and you have a lot of roots here. So I imagine a lot of the people that are in their 80s and 90s like to share stories with you about their lives, and you have a lot of background in ranching and farming.
Actually, it's very interesting to listen to their stories. You realize how much society's changed. I've come up with a saying, and from talking to those older people, is back then survival was hard. I mean, you talk to old timers, and they didn't always know if they're going to have food, or they were trying to stock up for the winter, and survival was really tough. But living was easy. Living was simple. They didn't have a lot of stresses. I think they seemed pretty happy. They had to work hard, had to pay attention, but life is pretty good. And now, what I see now in modern times, survival is simple. Doesn't matter what ridiculous things you do, how little attention you pay. There is a government program or something there that'll pick you up, dust you off, and make sure you survive, no matter what you do to yourself. But living is kind of hard. There's a lot of stresses, there's a lot of demands, there's a lot of I's you must dot, T's you must cross, things you must do. And there's a lot of pressures, whether it's financial, societal, you must do this, you must do that. And back then, I don't think there's those kind of pressures.
So even though life was physically harder back then, emotionally it was less demanding. And now, in this day and age, we have...
It was simple. It was pretty simple. You knew where you're going, you knew what you're doing. And now it's very complex.
So I think we just unveiled a new logo for the Senior Center, and it says, "Aging shouldn't have to be a puzzle." And I think that's been my experience too. I mean, the older folks, and I'm talking the 80 to 100-year-olds that we serve now, they're very practical and pragmatic, but as complicated as society has gotten, they need help. And I'm sure you see this with your constituents coming to you saying, "Brian, I don't know what to do about this new property tax thing," or,
A perfect example of that, Laurie, is there's some programs now, if you're in business or something, there's some paperwork that you must file electronically. And there's some of these older people have never had a computer. They don't ever want a computer. And you cannot file it by paper. And they're law-abiding citizens. They want to obey the law. And they're like, we don't know how to do this. So it's kind of what's happened is the county staff is pretty good about it, and they've helped them file it. But that means that person now has to drive to the county and come in and fill out this and bring all their information. And I think it's basic. It's almost criminal in my book for the state to do that to people. Why can't you send it in paper? It should be accessible that way. So it's really, it's kind of an issue.
And there used to be always the option. Initially it was like, if you'd like to file online, here's our email address, or, you know, go to your local thing and pick up the form and all that. But now you're right. There are certain things that you absolutely have, because we have people coming into the senior center, and we do have a public use computer that we can help, you know, people do. But sometimes we have to send them back to your staff at the county because we don't understand, you know, well, what is this exactly that
and that's part of that, what I'm talking about, you know, the survival is easy nowadays, but living is hard. It's gotten very complex.
And I feel like people need to start pulling together and talking with one another. You know, maybe you don't have a computer, but maybe your neighbor has a computer, and maybe your neighbor can help you, you know, file. Because I don't think it's going to go back the other way.
Oh, no, it's not. And that's something, if you go back to old times, people helped one another a lot.
Exactly.
And now it's almost, people have almost become compartmentalized. You know, you got everything you need, so I don't have to talk to my neighbor because they have nothing I want or nothing I need to help me. And back then, a lot of times, perfect example was one of my relatives, I think my great-grandmother, the family got in a scrap with a neighbor over, I think, a spring. And there's hard feelings.
Water.
And they weren't talking. And a story I've been told, one of the relatives, I think on our side, passed away. It was a tragic accident. Somebody got killed. And the lady who the family had the issue with, I guess, made a couple dresses and took them down and gave them to probably one of my relatives because they didn't have a whole lot of money, and the girls didn't have a proper dress to go to the funeral in. So this old lady brought these two dresses, gave them to them, and the two old ladies I heard kind of patched up their feud, and they were friends to the day they died.
Wow.
But it's just kind of,
And now instead they're calling us saying, I'm having a problem with my neighbor, and do you have an attorney that can talk, you know, I can talk to?
Well, yeah.
People need to.
As far as clothes, there's stuff available all over, so you don't have to talk to your neighbor. Your neighbor doesn't have to do it for you because there's government programs. And some of those programs are nice, but it changes the equation, how people interact a little bit.
Yeah. And there's, you know, there's some good government programs like the Home Delivered Meals program. That's got a lot of federal funding, but not enough to cover it. I mean, Annie and Elizabeth are putting on the beauty pageant.
Sure.
And Martin Ryan's going to be a judge in that beauty pageant, by the way, to raise money to try to help support the nutrition program.
Well, you know, in the family there was a history of judges.
Oh, that's true. That's true, there was.
His dad was a judge, Martin Ryan Sr., and he was actually an excellent judge.
Yes, I remember. He was a good friend of Fred Joyce's, as a matter of fact. Judge Ryan was. And
I think they went to school together.
Yeah, probably, yeah. Oh, talk about old-timers. There's a lot of them out there. Do you know about the project that they're doing to do oral interviews with some of the old-timers?
Yes, I've given some names of some people to contact.
Great. I was going to say you probably have some good referrals.
I got in trouble. Some of the names that I gave them, I didn't call some of the people and say, these people may be calling you. So one of my relatives was like, I got this phone call. And
they were suspicious. So.
I was in trouble.
Hey, look who's here.
Speaking of trouble.
Yeah,
there it is.
I wasn't going to say that.
But I did, of course. I said
Virginia.
it. Hello, Brian, and thank you again, and the Board of Supervisors, too, for helping us sponsor this show. It's been terrific, and, of course, you've backed us from the very beginning, and we appreciate that.
Yeah,
we know
thank you.
you like old people and puppy dogs. The children.
Dogs. Puppies and big dogs, too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You know, I'm happy to support the show, and I think the board was happy also to do likewise. And
it's a great outreach of your personal fund to be able to reach the seniors in the community about all the different options that they have for healthy living, lucky living.
There's a lot of options out there.
There are, and so this show really enlightens them, and we're really grateful to you.
Well, thank you.
We're just grateful that you're in our community. Of course, he's been here long before us, Laurie.
Yeah, that's the truth. I'm a newcomer in comparison.
And you know, I'm not a senior yet, but a lot of times
I
I get
know, Brian.
people say, you know, I was somewhere and a person asked how old I was, and I told him, and he said, "You must have had a rough life," and I kind of felt kind of bad. I guess I look weathered or something.
Tell them it's all that. Hey, and here's Sue,
Hello, Sue.
and Jackie. So
And we're getting cozy.
this is the final goodbye. We are going to do one in the fall, though, right,
We
Virginia?
are, yes.
We are going to find funding. We are going to find
we are.
guests. Sue's going to be here. We'll probably have Jackie back because she's so full of all different kinds of information.
Yes.
So I want to give that Master Gardener number one more time.
223 6838.
6838.
6838.
So you said 223-6838.
Right.
6838.
For Master Gardeners.
Okay,
Right.
let's make a song out of
Right.
that.
I'd just like to thank Laurie for hosting, Virginia for helping produce the whole show, and Brian, thank you so much for
Thank you.
stepping up and really helping out. And all these are available on YouTube, so you can check them out and see all the wonderful segments from this season and last and all of
And
them.
if you don't have a computer, come to the Senior Center and I'll boot up
We've
our
got
computer.
copies.
And you
Yes,
can,
we do.
we have, and we have CDs, so.
Yes.
Yeah, so.
And the
All right.
other thing is we've got a lot of things happening in the community going on. We've
yes,
got
I
the
almost
beauty
forgot.
pageant
The beauty
coming
pageant
up,
on
the
May
senior
25th.
beauty pageant.
How about, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No.
How about the Candy Mine Barbecue?
Oh,
on the
yeah,
my
this
goodness, that is
weekend.
so
This
cool.
weekend.
Absolutely.
We've got
Five-
tickets, we're going.
Yeah.
5 to 9.
So the
I gotta
classic,
get my tickets. Where do you
25
get them?
bucks.
right,
Where do you buy the
At
tickets?
Accra or at
Jackson Business has them.
yes.
And of
Yeah.
course, don't forget C's Candy at the
See's
Senior
Candy at
Center.
the Senior
That's a big
Center.
fundraiser.
We got the summer. Somebody
Right.
was asking about the summer things, but yeah, classic car show this weekend. See the classic cars. Go up to the Kennedy
Trash
Mine.
to
and-
Treasures
so
in Sutter
much-
Creek.
we are
And
so blessed.
I just have to put a plug in. Remember, help is just a button away. Fire, medical, and police with Amador Lifeline, your local provider for emergency response service.
See you
That
next
was good.
season.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Amador Senior Center, making life safe, comfortable, and interesting for our Foothill seniors.